a scientist. I'm not an expert in footballs. I'm not an expert in football measurements.
Why can't you hold on to football? It's so goddamn hard about holding on to it.
What's up, everybody? Mike Collins, Scott Simpson here. Fantasy Millionaires, broadcasting live. What's crack-a-lackin'?
Happy Labor Day or draft prelude to a day or previous draft day. I mean, it's draft season, whatever kids are saying now, and happy draft day. So
I just got done with one.
how many did you do in the last 3 or 4 days? Where are you at right now? Not total, but just in the last week, what were you working with?
The last 4 days, I've done 3. No, 5 days, I've done 3. Thursday.
You have another tomorrow,
Thursday, Sunday,
though.
Monday, and then I have another one tomorrow.
And then another one Thursday.
And then I have another one Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So in a 8-day span, you're gonna have about 5 or 6 drafts.
Whew.
That's downright just boastful right there. I'm sorry, I don't want to make people jealous of what the Ralph Macho's doing out there, but he's draft flexing us all. I love it.
I'm definitely I'm running out of draft energy a little bit.
Oh, well.
You need time. Like, it's like, if you have kids and stuff like that, it's just, we did our home league yesterday, and that's awesome because it's like, it's men's Christmas. We have it all set up. It's, we're all in. But if you're doing all these online drafts and stuff like that, like, you're doing it in your house. And I have small kids, and it's like the entire time they just think I'm being mean to them, because I'm trying to lock in.
You're being mean.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just got to say, speaking of in-person drafts, thank you for hosting yesterday. I'll do a little BFFs recap. There was overall, it's a really good draft, really good picks going on. Mike opened up his home. We had pizza. We had wings. We had a projection screen. We had social distancing. We had piss-poor picks in the 5th round, people picking Drew Brees while they were pissing. Say that 5 times fast. And, it was quite a fun draft. A couple of possible miscues with beer and computers that we will thankfully not have to be talking about again next year because, by the hair of our chinny chin chins, things were avoided. Mike and I sober as jaybirds on this night, and our drafts were good.
Yeah.
Good. Why don't you share with us a few of the highlights from your team? And do you have a team name going in already? Have you christened this 2020 season with a new name yet?
I am. Check out my podcast.
Check out my podcast. I like that.
Yep. Flexing on these mofos.
They don't have a podcast to flex on, so you can dunk right on them.
Yeah, and it's got my my Jordan picture up with all my championship rings from that league. So
yeah, several of them.
Yeah, so it's double flex. I double flexed on them.
Well, we do have a double flex in our league, so.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, man. We got to do it outside too, which was really cool. But hence the someone almost throwing a beer into all the electrical equipment because they're outside and thought, hey, I'm going to toss my friend a beer over the control station, and it almost landed on top of the control station. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it was one of those moments where it's like there was all, you got this close to a car crash, and I guess you can kind of laugh about it afterwards, but I was also just like, let's just in the rest of your life never make that decision again.
Yeah, and that decision, I don't think that was made in the beginning of the night when cooler heads were around or sober minds were leading the charge. I think this is a more drunken, inebriated, I'm going to throw a beer 15 feet to someone who's not expecting it, and it's dark outside, and This is going to go well. This is going to go well. And thankfully, it did miraculously not go terrible.
Yeah, it just missed the projector. My laptop was downwind, but my buddy's laptop, it came 2 inches from just cracking it. He threw it up like a volleyball up in the air too, so it had a lot of terminal velocity. It was building.
Coming down. It was a Mitch Trubisky pass. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Yeah, falling like a big old lead weight. Well, I'm glad that the draft, it produced a lot of fun moments, but I think it actually produced a couple of really good teams. I'll call out a few of the picks on your team that I like. You got Raheem Mostert in the 5th round. That was just a juicy value after you impromptu went 0 RB, which I did not expect. But when you get Lamar, when you get Michael Thomas, DJ Moore to start off with, I mean, you were cruising and killing that right away. And you followed up with Mark Andrews to pair up with Lamar. I love that pick. And to get Mostert, who could be an RB1, maybe an RB2 this year, as your 5th pick, I think that's a lot of value. So I loved how you rolled out of the gate, man. You're killing it right to start.
I'm not as big on stacks as Stacks is. That's why he's stacks and I'm cash, But as far as that stack, that might be one of my favorite stacks in the whole league. My thing with stacks is they have to be sure things, because there's, it's a lot of risk versus reward, if your stack hits. But when you're dealing with, a tight end that gets 120 targets and Lamar Jackson, that's to me, one of the most surest things. And I like having that. That's the only tight end stack I would want, with a quarterback. So I was excited to get that. But yeah, threw my whole draft off, dude. This entire time we've been running through these rounds and I've just been mocking 0 RB, and I didn't get a running back until the 5th round. And I was thinking too, I have to be honest with you, I took Raheem Mostert, and I didn't walk away from that draft like, oh, I crushed it. Like, since it's over, I mean, I was debating on Leonard Fournette at that pick. I was hoping he was going to fall back around, and I don't know if I could go back and redo it. I might take Leonard Fournette and then hope Raheem Mostert fell back around. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
No.
But,
well, I like your team. You did go more 0 RB to start. You got a lot of RBs later, which I thought was good. Talk to us about your guy, getting your guy, and I'll talk about getting my guy, and missing on one of my guys as well. But who did you get, and tell us where you got him and what you were thinking.
I got Henry Ruggs in the 7th. I'm going to get him on every team. So he's my 3rd wide receiver. So again, because I have Michael. So I didn't like my DJ Moore pick that much either. It was kind of like I picked him sort of out of safety, because he's a target machine. He has like, I think it's like 2 or 3 drops out of like 215 targets. Like,
wow,
it's ridiculous. Yeah. And he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns, so I'm counting on reverse TD regression.
Yeah.
But
so TD progression.
Yeah. That's one way to say it: reverse regression or progression. But either way, I feel like his ceiling was something that, because I had Michael Thomas, I wanted a very safe wide receiver too. And then I'm just so high on Ruggs,
Yeah.
To me, the upside is, he's. I honestly think sky's the limit for that guy.
Yeah.
I really do. I think. Again, I'm going to try and get him on every single team I have, and I've been doing that so far, because he's going later. He's going 9th, 10th round. But I was scared you were going to I was at the 4, you were at the 11, and I was scared that you'd take him in the early 8th. So I was like, I'm not going to. I knew that you were the only person I had to worry about. I'll say this, though, man. I think some of our league mates may have been like at least checking out our picks and stuff like that, because some of them were picking like every single person. Like I was watching you get sniped by one of our Southern bros, and I was like, I think he was going off of BFF picks, man, because he picked a great team. It's my favorite team.
If he wins the league, I just hope he just shouts us out and like, yeah, I used your rankings, bro. I'll be like, thank you.
I mean, whether or not he used our rankings or not, like
his best draft ever. So
well, his draft was in accordance with our rankings. Like every pick he was making, I was like, that's the right pick. That's the right pick.
Yes. Well, and I'll say I did not get Calvin Ridley. I thought I could get him and AJ Brown and gamble a little bit. And what I think ended up happening is I almost feel like when I took AJ Brown, I took his guy, and so then he came back and took Calvin Ridley to get me for my guy. It was one of those tit for tat things because I know he likes AJ Brown. So maybe there's a trade in the works. We can work something out after. We'll see. But my friend at the end, he also got Cooper Kupp, and I got Robert Woods. So, we're tied. We're dancing. We're dancing there. I got Russell Wilson. He got Dak Prescott. So it was back and forth. I have a comment from my man Gemmo. Shout out the icon himself in the Periscope chat. He said he likes Edwards better. Now, I'm not going to say I like Edwards better. I don't.
Yeah, I bet a lot of money on Henry Ruggs having a way better season than Edwards. I think Edwards is great, but he wasn't even the starting guy. I mean, he's getting bumped in because of injury. So he's one of our guys tonight that we're going to talk about, Gemma. So he's he's a late round snag for sure.
Yeah, Gemmo liked it. He's hardened it up. But it's a bit of a tease. But I'll share my thoughts on him as well, and what kind of the juxtaposition, different perspective in our own league kind of came up. For me, I was excited. I got one of my guys in Austin Eckler. I got another one of my guys in Kareem Hunt. I got another one of my guys in Devonta Adams. And then I got another one of my guys in Robert Woods, like I mentioned before. I got two of my guys in the 7-8 round. I got CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson. I could have gone Deontay Johnson and then CeeDee Lamb. Here's the thing that's crazy. Shout out Wide Receiver 2 Theory, which dropped this past weekend, and the thousands and millions of you who jumped in and read it and tweeted it out, and to Denny and Pete Overzet and JJ and everybody who contributed their help along the way in my process. Joe Pizzapia, I mean everybody. You guys are rock stars. Thank you for all the stuff that you do. John Daigle, for your incredible work over at Roto World and the matrix that you put up of vacated targets. All the stuff I jumped off on. Anyway. Long story short, in that, I mentioned Deontay Johnson and CeeDee Lamb back-to-back in that article at 37-38. Well, I got them in our league at 36-37. And so people were like, oh, it's a bit of a stretch. Look at that, 7th, 8th round. But it's really not. It was really not a stretch. I was really, really excited to get Deontay Johnson and CeeDee Lamb. My team name is CD's TDs, baby. Because I feel like he's going to lead the team in touchdowns this year out of that wide receiving core. He is my guy. Getting him in the 7th, maybe it's a little expensive, but I think it's much better than getting Amari Cooper in the 4th or the 3rd. And so little Wide Receiver 2 Theory in my league put on display. I went with my theory. You pivoted. I love that. You pivoted based on the data in front of you, and who wouldn't? Getting a chance to grab Lamar in the 2nd round at the 209. To me, it sounds like what I would have done too. So, all kudos to you. And hopefully we do meet up in the later rounds. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of our other players because they do kind of filter back into our combo today. But great overall, Mr. Collins. Congratulations. Great host, as you always are. A BFF. We're not barely Facebook friends anymore. We're moving away from that now to, bad effing farting, because that's kind of what was happening during that draft.
There was definitely some bad F word farting.
There was one guy, the same guy who drafted Drew Brees, who went and peed, while he was drafting Drew Brees. he was farting everywhere. He was rolling around and farting near you. Thankfully, he did not fart near me. He did come over to my isolated table, though, and want to shake my hand. I mean, I'm in a mask. I look like a space cadet, which I am. He didn't get it. He put his beer on my table, we're living in a new world, man. But it was amazing. I loved it, and I would do it all again. And you're a great host. So, recap: BFF's draft was a blast this year.
Definitely, man. It's just funny when you draft that. There's just things happen, and you get sniped from players, so you have to readjust. And my draft was a lot like that, where I was able to get some of my guys, but I was kind of picking out of safety in certain spots too. So, but
you have to build your team. I think that's how it works. You got to make sure building out of safety is you got to have a floor. You got to have a floor.
Here's the main thing that was cool is that I generally followed strategy that was like sort of backup strategies. And the thing that, if you get Lamar and you get your tight end, now, it's on. You can just draft whoever, just fill your team up with skill positions.
Load up.
Yeah, I mean, so that was, it was different. I'm not a zero RB guy, and I had to go zero RB, but we've talked about in different rounds, we've been saying early rounds you go RB, mid rounds you go wide receiver, then you go quarterback, then you go tight end, and you keep your eyes on the position. Tonight's final round, if you still have drafts to do, it's 12 through 14, and we wanted to talk a little strategy in these rounds because
winners. There's winners here.
There's definitely guys that you can still get.
Can I just say last year some of the guys you could get who were top guys, DJ Shark, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Parker, Darius Slayton, John Brown. These guys were all available in rounds 12 through 15. Some were going undrafted. So there are potential 200 plus. Don't overlook players here. It's about opportunity. And in this COVID era, you never know when opportunity is going to present itself. So I mean, it's just talk away, my friend. I'm sorry, I had to do my little diatribe.
No, because that's the thing. It's there's that, okay, but then the other part of these rounds is adding anti-fragility to your team. So again, this podcast, we're really focusing our advice on a 12-man league and
PPR,
12-man PPR, and we're doing rounds 12 through 14, leaving out defense and kicker. But now you've got your 8 starting players, forget the defense and the kicker, and then you got your 6 bench players. And part of the strategy in a 12-man league, I think, is making sure that you can survive injuries, and especially in a COVID year. So one of the things that I advise is, if you've drafted perfectly, get 2 QBs and 2 tight ends. I was not able to do that in my draft. My team was too thin, and my last pick in the 14th round, I got Jared Goff as my backup QB. Because
so 1 tight end, you didn't rock the 2 tight end.
I didn't do 2 tight ends.
Do 2 tight ends, okay. But you got the 2 QBs in, though.
I got 2 QBs. I went 2 QB, 1 tight end. And I kind of think that's kind of an important part of a strategy in a 12-man, especially because players are not everyone's going to get Lamar, Mahomes, Dak, those premium guys, Russell Wilson. it happened in our league where guys would do just like we talked about in the podcast, where they would back-to-back rounds draft a quarterback, back-to-back rounds draft a tight end. So
Guilty. I did that, but later with tight ends, but later, yeah.
right. And that's the thing is it just depends on where you drafted and whatever. But if you're late on getting a QB, you're going to see guys go back to back because they're doing the same thing that they're doing with the tight end. They don't have a sure thing.
Oh.
So they're trying to make sure, one of these guys is going to be capable. And the thing is that in a 12-man league now, you're dealing with potentially, 20 quarterbacks off the board. So if you only have one quarterback, then dude, you're SOL, man, because you're real. I think early in the season, like we don't know Phillip Rivers, he might come back strong.
He's on the waiver wire. He's available in our league.
There's going to be guys on the waiver wire in the beginning of the season, but generally, like I like
we'll talk about that later. By the way, that's a tease.
Yeah. I like Goff though as like a backup. Daniel Jones. There's those tier of guys that I think are worth rostering, and then I think also, you might not have the flexibility to do that because you're so weak at tight end. So you might have to go 1 QB, 2 tight ends. But I think rounds 12 through 14 is really, you're trying to get either one or both of those, a second quarterback or a second tight end or both. And also keep your eye on those, those league winners like Devontae Parker,
Yeah. Well, and I've always been of the idea of getting one tight end, one quarterback, and just going, 13 running back wide receivers, and maybe 14, because I normally don't take a defense in case somebody gets hurt in the couple days leading up to it.
Sorry.
So, the show wants to just keep starting. It's so good. Yeah. So I normally don't do that. I did take 2 tight ends. I took them back to back in the later rounds because I didn't go early tight end, and that was what I was going to do. I think we talked about that before. You got to load up a couple of bullets in the tight end chamber if you're going to go later, because you just don't know. They're not always going to be successful. For me, I went Dallas Goedert. Jalen Reagor is not ready. Deshaun Jackson is ready. Good for him, and I love him. He is not a possession wide receiver. If they're going to treat him like that, he's going to get broken in like 4 plays. So, who is a great possession wide receiver? Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. So let's get them the ball over the middle, and then they can just who wants to catch this play? I see him with more like 100 targets than 80 targets, and so I like that in the 11th round. And then Jonnu Smith, I followed it up with love Jonnu. So I feel like if you're going to get guys like that in the later rounds, you're building a strong kind of anti-fragility model there. If you don't get Andrews like you did, or Waller, or the top 4 for me, it goes like this actually. I'm not dissing Kelsey. I love Kelsey. Kelsey's a strong, just quite strong. But I think this year this is the finish, I think, for me. I think it goes Kittle, and after that it goes Andrews, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Waller goes in there, and then Kelsey. But that's just me. If it's wrong, it's fine. But that's kind of where my head's at right now. I really like those top 4, and they're close. It's a 5 here, 10 there, 3 there. It's not like 50 outpacing by 50. That's the top tier. If you don't get one of those guys, then you got a double stack. So,
yeah, but again, too, there are those guys like Devontae Parker who, to me, the goal in rounds 12 through 14, besides building anti-fragility, really you're trying to get a guy that can get you 200 points. Like if you snag somebody that can get you 200 points, you're dealing with, a pretty strong, flex, somebody that gets you 14 points per game. And that happens every year. There's players that go in these rounds. So, tonight we picked 6 players that we think are worth snagging. I don't think any of them are going to be this year's Devontae Parker. I mean, he was 11th. He had over 250. Yeah, he had over 250 points in our league last year, which was, I mean, but there always is somebody like that. I just, I don't know which one of these guys it's going to be. And if I remember in our league, I don't even think he was drafted. So that's why, once the season starts, one of the segments on the show is going to be waiver wire,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know if you want to jump in. The millionaires, we have 6 guys that we think are worth talking about in these rounds. The first guy we wanted to talk about was Sammy Watkins. Ugh.
Hey.
No, hey, I picked it. He's on my team. I picked him. Yeah.
Okay.
He's on my team. So I'm just saying because he has played 1 complete season in 6 years. And that was his rookie season. So I think, we're not really ranking in order of importance here, actually.
Right. We're not saying go get Sammy Watkins above all the rest. I think Sammy Watkins is very intriguing because of who his quarterback is, the offensive system he's in, the skill set he does possess, and what he is capable of. If you watch the Super Bowl, I hope you did, because if you didn't, something bad happened in your life because you probably would watch it. But I really saw a receiver who could get open still.
Yeah.
And he got open down the field. And so I do think there's the games he's going to have where he's going to go and get you, 100 yards, 7 catches, a touchdown. And it's going to when you're weak for you, if it's in your flex and you got no one else to kind of go that week. And so I'm not against that. He does have upside. If our boy, the cheetah, Tyreek Hill, gets hurt, which he did last year for a couple games, guess who was featured a little bit more in those games? It was Sammy Watkins. He got an uptick in target. So, yeah, it's not a bad pick. It's just not sexy. I think the fantasy footballers call him the Lizard King. It's just, it's dry. But there's still meat on the bone. He's still on the
why
team.
do they call him that? Do you know why? Does he like lizards or something?
I don't know. I don't know the derivation of that. It's just become a life of its own. Maybe we should ask Andy to reach out and let us know. He knows. He knows everything. Mike Wright knows too. Jason probably knows too.
Yeah. For some reason, I think it's because he likes lizards, but I have no idea. Yeah, he, in 2018, he played six games, and if you kind of want to pace out that season and look at the trajectory of what he was doing in 2018, he very possibly could have had over 1,000 yards, 6 TDs, 80 receptions. 2019, he has 673 yards, 3 TDs, 52 receptions. But how about this? 198 yards, 3 TDs, and 9 receptions in week 1. So that's kind of not good. You know what I mean? Like that's almost all of that. It's a third of his season. All 3 TDs are in the first game.
Well, I played against him last year and in the first week, and the guy had Mahomes too. So between the two of them, they had 100 points. So that was a fun first week to, start off the season last year. So
here's the thing: when I was doing prep on him, and I was looking at last year, and outside that really big game, he started in 13 games last year. So he did another not full season, but he really only played in 12. And he ended up having a 10.3 points per game average, which was better than Mecole Hardman, was better than Juju Schuster, was better than Brandon Cooks. So 10.3, I mean, I'll take somebody in these rounds. As long as he doesn't get injured, I think that's his floor.
Well, you're chasing upside.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Patrick Mahomes being dinged up last year. I think he potentially could have averaged, 12.25 points per game. Like when I went and kind of ran the numbers. And now you're in the DK Metcalf, Emmanuel Sanders, Jamison Crowder, Adam Thielen neighborhood. So, I mean, to me, he's somebody with a ceiling because of his injury history of 200 points, which is fine. Yeah. I'm going to take him in rounds 13 or 14. That's where I'm going to take Sammy Watkins. Late in those rounds. That's where I took him.
It's not a bad pick. I liked your pick there. I was chasing my own running back shortage after kind of going heavy on the wide receivers, as I mentioned earlier, getting all of my wide receiver 2 theory guys, sans Calvin Ridley. But there's another guy that we kind of teased a little bit earlier that I want to pivot to. Anything else you want to say about your guy? No, love that pick, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to put him into, and I have put him on my best ball teams. I'll put him in a couple more before the time is done on Thursday. And I also will put him on, and I have him on my teams for, Dynasty. So he'll be in there for DFS as well. So I like him. So for me, the guy we talked about earlier is Bryan Edwards. Now, I got him in the 14th round. Now, I don't like him better than I like Ruggs. I like Ruggs a lot better than I like him. But I like him with Ruggs, and I like him in the 14th round. Tell me about what you think about that.
So, again, he's definitely somebody you want to get in these rounds. I'd take him over. I think Sammy Watkins is the worst one we picked out of all the people available. Well, there's one other guy that you really like that I think we're going to get into. But Bryan Edwards, to me, he's very exciting. The recon that I did on him, because he's going to play the X position on the field, he's going to face more press coverage. And the only knock on him that I've been able to find is because he's a rookie, because he's, on a learning curve, is he going to have the ability to separate from NFL corners? That coupled with Derek Carr not really being known for pass attempt distance, he's a middle of the road QB. Those are the cons. He also had a foot injury, fractured his metatarsal in his foot. That was kind of why he slipped a little bit in the draft too. Everything's fine, but those were the cons. To me, the pros are he's 6'3", he's 212. He played at South Carolina, he played in the SEC, and he broke Alshon Jeffrey's record for career receiving yards. So, I mean, that's a pretty decent pedigree. And I don't think he's gonna, I don't think he's gonna light the world on fire, especially in the beginning of the season because of the learning curve. But I do think that he, as he starts to learn the pro offense and starts to pick up all these little shortcuts and secrets on how to play his role in the offense, I think he's gonna have a great career, and I think as the season progresses, I think it's good for him ultimately. The fact that Tyrell Williams went down makes him way more valuable,
right?
Because he was gonna be the understudy to that position. So
I was very shocked that he was available then in that 14th round. I was surprised. I said, has he been? Oh, thank God. So
yeah. So, he's got a lot of speed. I think he didn't run a 40. I don't know. I couldn't find his 40 time, but the guesses on it are between 4.45 and 4.5, which is great.
Yeah.
Because he's 6'3" and he can high point the ball. So, yeah, I love him in these rounds. He's definitely. I would take him over Sammy Watkins for sure. So
yeah, Yeah, well, you didn't steal my thunder as much as you kind of like took the hurricane and used the whole storm. I loved it. You steered the storm right over to my neck of the woods, and I'll add a little bit to that. What I love about him is his ability to be a possession receiver in that offense. I think you got Ruggs. He's taking off the top. I see a lot of bait and switching where Ruggs is maybe decoyed a bit at times, but really you're getting Ruggs in space, bubble screens, quick jet sweeps, handoffs. Quick hitters, slants. You're getting that ball all the time. So, but on the other side, I think you need a 3rd and 7. You're going to go to Edwards. On and out. And he's going to take a tough dig, and the corner's going to keep going. And he's going to stop and catch that ball on the sidelines and be there. So, I think he's going to be more touchdown dependent than Ruggs. And I think what you'll see is those games, Ruggs will just catch 3 balls for 99 yards and a touchdown. And then maybe Edwards will get 7 receptions, 60 yards, maybe no touchdown. But in your flex, you're getting those 13, 14 points. That's where I see him as that flex value. When Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, or Robert Woods aren't in for me. Just I got the wide receivers. It's not COVID, don't worry. It's just they're just they're electric,
That's a flex cough.
Yeah, that's a flex cough, right? That's just no. But yeah, I do like him over Sammy Watkins, and if he's hanging around in your draft, get him. I know in the kind of the industry draft we're going to do tomorrow night, he's not going to be available in the 14th round. Probably not. So
people are high on him, man. He's gotten a lot of hype in camp too. So yeah, I think with him being 6'3", he definitely is going to get a lot of red zone opportunities. So I mean, to me, it's all about how are they able to scheme things for him, because it's going to be dependent on how they scheme things for him. The wealth of his fantasy points this season, and I think they'll be able to figure stuff out with him. I mean, he's got a lot of tools. So,
well, thank you, sir, for the nod and the well-spoken words.
Let me give you my favorite guy to get in these rounds, and I didn't get him, and I'm so sad I didn't get him. This is who I'm saying this is Cash's pick for rounds 12 through 14. It's my other guy too it's pretty close, but this guy might end up being a lot higher than his ADP. He might be the Devontae Parker. It's Brandon Aiyuk. I guess that's how you say his name. How do you say his name? Aiyuk? Is that right? Brandon Aiyuk.
Aiyuk.
Yeah. Did you do any recon on this guy? I did some good. I got some good tidbits, but what do you got on Brandon Aiyuk?
Tidbit away, my friend. I want to hear. I'm titillated by your tidbits.
Check this out, bro.
All right, check it.
Check this out, bro.
Microphone check.
I want all the people online to listen. If you have a draft, I'm hooking you up. He has an 81-inch wingspan. Okay.
Holy.
Now that's cool. That's a cool reaction. We don't know. What's an 81-inch wingspan? I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know. Who knows, right? Well, now I'll give you some context, right?
Context away, please.
Calvin Johnson has an 82-inch wingspan. Yeah.
What?
Microphone drop. And he's got 9.75-inch hands. So he's got the big jammies with the big arms. Jimmy G is just basically saying that he's blown away by what the guy is doing in training camp. He does have a hamstring issue, so
Who doesn't
Um,
these days?
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta be willing to maybe ride out that for a couple weeks. Um, but he was the sixth wide receiver taken behind Ruggs, Judy Lamb, Jalen Rager, and Justin Jefferson, and um, it wasn't even found out, I think, until the combine how big his wingspan was. So he, to me, he's someone that he was going to start either way. Like the
Right.
Debo,
It drafted him to start.
yeah, the Debo injury is not factoring in. So, and if Debo misses any time and he gets to, be the wide receiver one for the first few weeks, yeah, you could look at somebody that could be potentially getting you 20 points.
Yeah.
So
Well, Debo is coming off the injured list. I heard he seems like he's good to go.
yeah,
That's what the word on the street is. Now, here's the deal, though. He has not been practicing. He played with Jimmy G last year, so it's not like he's not there. But you got to think that Ayuk has a more of a rapport currently, just in the current moment of time. And so, I mean, honestly, I would smash that in your DFS plays, and maybe it shows back up again later in one of my mini podcast display. I think I've got 97 podcasts dropping this week. We'll talk about them. We have a podcast, a follow-up podcast to this podcast about my podcast to check out another thing I did about podcasts. I think if I say podcast 8 times fast, somebody's iPhone cracks. It's like a Mary curse, like a Bloody Mary curse. It's
Candyman.
just, yeah, it's just somewhere, some poor schmuck who's listening to a podcast, their phone cracks. And they're like, dang it.
Well, I mean, the last thing I just want to say is the same thing I said earlier. Is just Jimmy G was just like blown away by
Raving.
Brandon Ayuk's. Like he said, he was throwing him passes, and it was making him look so good because these were bad passes, and he was just snagging them. So yeah, I'm very sad I did not get him on my team. I don't have him in any leagues yet, so I'm going to be targeting him.
New day.
Yeah, I'm targeting him tomorrow in our industry draft and in my Thursday redraft league. So, but that's my guy for these rounds. I think your guy for these rounds, I'm a little bit not as high on. I don't think he's as weak as. I think he's kind of in the Sammy Watkins neighborhood. Your guy is Mr. Hill.
Well, it's Mr. James Washington.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I'm into James Washington. If you look at what he did last year, it was very serviceable as a wide receiver too in that offense. And I kind of see Big Ben having 3 wide receivers that are going to get most of his targets this year, with Ebron as well. And so there are, we'll segue into that a little bit later. We talk tight ends, but, there are going to be a lot of targets to go around. They throw the ball a lot. They get a lot of plays in Pittsburgh. Tomlin wants to go. Speaking of him, I saw them do a team prayer and a team, like he talked for about, 5 minutes. And then he said the team's going to gather. That team is one. They seem together, and I think not because of prayer was said on the field and into that, but I don't see that big of a discrepancy. I see when James Washington is not being targeted, it's probably going to be Deontay Johnson, and if it's not Deontay Johnson, it's probably going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'm into that 3-way split, and if anybody gets hurt, you've got a player who. If Big Ben gives him 8-9 targets, he's going to be successful. So I'm not looking for anyone to get hurt, but I just feel like he is, as a wide receiver 3, you can get him in the 15th round. Now, he's available in our league. I didn't get him. Instead, I got Bryan Edwards, and then I got Jerick McKinnon because I needed a little bit of that 49ers offense myself because I have Tevin Coleman, which is probably my worst pick in the draft. But then we'll see what happens. So maybe one of those guys cancels the other out, and they all suck. But we the 3 of us, or the 2 of us, have the 3 backfield for San Francisco. So we'll see how it plays out. There's stuff to be had, But I do like your guy a lot, and my guy over at Management Clock did say Bourne is doing well, and Bourne, did do well last year at times. I played him in DFS. He would catch a touchdown here and there. So, really, I love George Kittle. That's who I love in that offense the most, just between you, me, and, the podcast audience, because I mentioned earlier, I think he is tight end 1 this year for me. So
Yeah. So I love the thought on him, and it wasn't really until I was prepping for this podcast when I started to get a little bit more nervous about him. And here's the thing. Big Ben in 2018 threw it 675 times.
Holy moly.
People eat, and we're both really high on Deontay Johnson. But James Washington was a second round draft pick. So
right.
And last year he had 735 yards,
Very reasonable.
Yeah. And he wasn't now he's the starter. He's the clear-cut starter.
Yep.
He had, if you look at him last year, he really in fantasy really only had 3 decent big games, that kind of 20-point mark. He has nice hands. He got 9.75-inch hands. Here's where I'm nervous about him, and I'm a little nervous about Deontay Johnson because of this too. The more I learned about this guy Chase Claypool that they drafted in the second round, the more I started to wonder a lot about James Washington, and I really, it almost makes me a little nervous about Deontay Johnson because I think Chase Claypool is going to work himself into that offense, and I just didn't know much about him. He's 6'4", 238. He's a second round draft pick, and he runs a 4.42 40.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It was a star at Notre Dame. So they've got now they have Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and Chase Claypool. And Claypool has impressed at camp, and he is going to be working into the targets dished out on that team. So I do think that kind of devalues James Washington for me a little bit. So, but
I like that call. That's a good call.
Yeah, but as of now, it's James Washington's spot. I mean, he's a second round draft pick too, and he's got the knowledge of the offense. So with Big Ben there, I mean, he might, and we've already seen Deontay Johnson has a calf injury. I mean, he might be this year's Deontay Johnson. So I don't hate the pick, but Chase Claypool has got me nervous about very much about James Washington and a little bit about Deontay Johnson. So
yeah. I like what you're spitting. Speaking of tight ends, do you want to just, or not even tight ends, but I don't know where he's going to be deployed as a tight end role or in the slot or even maybe running fly patterns from time to time. You got a big guy like that. I don't know. What do you think about tight ends? Who's one of your guys in these later rounds you can pick up?
So this guy was not drafted in our league, and I was debating on my 14th round pick between Jared Goff and Eric Ebron. And I have Mark Andrews, and this just shows you that I think quarterbacks are more valuable having 2 versus 1 tight end, because this guy is right now on the waiver wire in our league. And if my draft had gone a little bit better and I could have had, both, I would have taken I think Eric Ebron is a great late round snag. I can't believe he's really kind of fallen off the map with the more I keep looking at the fact that he's now part of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. Well, you got conflicting thoughts in the chat blowing up right now. We got J. Will 294 saying Ebron feels like such a strong sleeper in the rounds, elite with luck. he could be that. Other people over at management clock saying like, oh, they kind of eat into each other. The value kind of goes away and ebbs and flows. Here's the thing: we know this Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to have a lot of targets to go around. Right now, I guess we just don't know who it's going to be completely on. I don't think it's on Juju. Shout out a podcast I'm doing, not to segue into this, but shout out to a podcast I'm doing called The Prop Profits, and we're looking to do a little profiting off of props. And one of my calls this year is Juju Smith-Schuster is not going to get 1,100 yards. That's what DraftKings is taking right now, over under on Juju. That's a huge number. I can't. But I think that other players in there could maybe get over 900, 800 yards in that offense. So there's definitely a lot of uncertainty in where this where the cash is going to get divvied out in this offense, where the targets are going to be and where the money's going to be made. So I like the offense. I think if you're targeting in it, you got a lotto ticket there in some respects.
How about Eric Ebron has a ceiling of maybe 800 yards?
That'd be nice.
I mean, I went back and I was looking throughout last year, throughout 2019, Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph. We're not going to talk about that offense. Let's look at 2018 with Big Ben and what they did with their tight ends. Okay. 72 targets for Vance McDonald, 50 receptions, 610 yards, 4 TDs. Jesse James also involved, 30 receptions, 423 yards, 2 TDs. It's kind of reverse in 2017. Jesse James was the primary target, 63 targets, 43 receptions, 3 TDs. Vance had 24 targets. 2016, Jesse James has 60 targets. Keith Miller in 2015 has 81 targets, 60 receptions, 535 yards. So I think if you're looking at Eric Ebron, a first-round draft pick, taken 10th overall in 2014, he's 2 years removed from a 14 TD season. I think it's pretty safe to give him a floor of 70 targets, 50 receptions, 600 yards, 4 TDs, which is going to get you around 12-ish, points in our league. Great,
yeah.
great. 14th round pick. You get a 12-point tight end. But I think the ceiling, I don't think it's crazy to think he gets 90 targets, 70 receptions, 800 yards, and 8 TDs as long as Roethlisberger is healthy. And yeah, man, now you're looking at maybe around like 6 or 5 in our league, something like that. And you can get this guy in the 14th round. You can get him right now on our waiver wire. So,
yeah. Well, segueing to that real quick, I love that. My man Bo says, stash him, trade him after a couple of good games if you want to get max value out of him. Our guy Bo McBigtime, by the way, love him. We passed his hot sauce around the league like a bong at a frat party. Not sharing, of course. We each had our own. Never mind. That didn't happen. So I brought a bunch of Bows from Bo because I love Bo. I bought them myself, and then I passed them out to my boys at the draft, and they're going to be in for a treat. So, Bo, shout out. You were present at the draft. Yeah, Bo was a mover and a shaker with him. I like holding on to Ebron this year just to see what the offense looks like. Maybe it's nothing, but I do think he's a good play to start the season, especially with a new offense that targets the tight end, like you said historically, that it gets it in.
Yeah, yeah. The last guy we were going to talk about, and then we have our Mr. Irrelevance, last pick in the draft. The last guy is Chris Herndon, another tight end that goes in these rounds. You're a little higher on him than me, but I'm with you. I'll take him as a backup tight end because of the upside. So what are you seeing out of Mr. Chris?
Here's the main thing I'm going to speak to. It's not his skill set. It's not that he's faster or better than anybody else or anything like that. It's that none of the Jets wide receivers have been practicing or have been playing and are hurt. Mims has not been practicing. Crowder really hasn't been on the field. They're bringing people into camp. They're wishing Robbie Anderson was still on their team. So I almost feel like, Le'Veon Bell, of course, is going to get some targets out of the backfield, but they're going to get onto that pretty quickly. It's not a new formula. And I think this Chris Herndon is just going to have more in the initial part of the season, some upside that maybe it levels off. Maybe it's not as intense the whole season. But, for me, as a DFS guy, I'm really looking at schedules and impact, and kind of tight ends are people who are impacted a lot by schedules. There's some guys, Julio Jones, and you go whoever, it doesn't matter. Julio Jones is getting his. He's going to eat. Tyreek Hill maybe is up and down depending on how the offense goes, but Julio's going to get his every single time. Tight ends are highly impacted by good and bad matchups. And so if you have those really good matchups with him in the beginning of the year, Bills isn't a great one, but he's going to be getting a lot of targets. If I can tell you he's going to get 8 to 10 targets, 20 targets, or 16 targets by the end of the first 2 weeks, you'll take that in the 14th, 15th round. I didn't get him. I had Jonnu earlier. I was pleased with Jonnu. Didn't need to get a third tight end. One of the guys in our league who I'm not going to call him out because, I like him, good guy, he took a third quarterback. That didn't really fit into your theory. We talked earlier about your two tight end, two quarterback. He took Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, and then Jerry Falwell's wife. So, he took them all.
Yeah, another fantasy tip from the Fantasy Millionaires is invite people into your redraft league that either draft 3 quarterbacks or 3 tight ends or both. That's the real money. If you can get someone who drafts, you could have 6 spots on your team filled up with somebody like that. That's one of the ways you become a fantasy millionaire. We're teaching people this is where you learn to become a fantasy millionaire. So that's part of your strategy.
Who are sucky at drafting.
Yes.
My favorite is after the draft, one of our friends who his draft was okay. He did some reaches. He was drafting right near you at second. He was like, what's my best and worst pick? I said, your worst pick is your team.
Yeah.
And he didn't take too kindly to that. And then he just started calling me, "Oh, Mr. How much money you won in the league?" I said, "Probably not the same amount of money as you've won in the league, bro." Okay.
That was fun. Yeah.
So fun times all around. I am going to beat that guy. His team sucks. So, just between you and me and this podcast that he doesn't listen to.
I don't know, man. I've seen some numbers down in D.C. He might be tuning in. Who knows? I doubt it.
Wow.
I doubt it.
I doubt he's listening. But whatever. I'll call him out. Go grab some Molson Ice from Canada.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say though too about Herndon is I think he is, he fits into these rounds really well. He's definitely someone that you can get late, and hopefully you have another tight end because it's really he's just really a question mark. But he fits into that model of he's in his 3rd season. He had a really good rookie season. He's injured last year. And he plays 1 game. He gets fractured. He has a rib fracture. But if you look at that first season, everything on paper says he fits the model to progress into that tight end. And now's the time when it happens. 3rd year where he takes a big jump. And I love what you said about that offense too. One of the things I was reading about him is that that's all Sam Darnold is looking for when he's been in training camp so far has been Chris Herndon. Like all their broken plays, everything when it goes wrong, he just chucks it to him.
Yeah. So, he's the best athlete on the field for them right now in the secondary. And so I like him as a DFS play, by the way, too. Put him in your DFS. He is cheap. I think he's 4,200 on DraftKings. So there's money to be had with him. I think in the initial, you can ride him trade him if he starts sucking after maybe all his players come back on his team. But, be fluid, man, like you were in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are our guys, man. You want to do your Mr. Irrelevant? Who's your last pick in the draft? Yeah. Who's Mr. Irrelevant for Scott Simpson?
For me, on the website, if you go to thefantasymillionaires.com toolbox section, this is compatible with your phone, with your tablet, with your desktop. The toolbox, fantasy toolbox, it just goes right now first round all the way down to round 14, and you can see my last guy on there is Mr. Kenny Stills. And, Brandon Cooks, this is his fourth team in like 5 years. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not judging anybody. Not a guy, I think he's produced everywhere he's gone. 15th, 11th, 13th. And then last year he sucked, but whatever. He got a concussion. He got hurt. I'm not going to shade that completely, but it's a new offense, and that team is inconsistent with how it distributes the ball. I just think he's somebody who, if Will Fuller gets hurt, and if Brandon Cooks doesn't pan out, he's somebody there who I like him better than Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb is like Methuselah. Him and Frank Gore are just like racing it out to see who can have the oldest looking face in the national. Frank Gore would beat the snot out of Randall Cobb, I believe, in one of those celebrity boxing matches. Frank Gore is like tough as nails. But Randall Cobb, he's fantasy relevant last year because he was in the Dallas Cowboys offense. I just don't see him tearing up Texas like he did last year. So that's a stab in the dark, Yeah.
No, I like that as a Mr. Irrelevant. I like this. This is a great meme or whatever about Frank Gore. It's a picture of him, and it says, "Back in '47, we didn't even wear helmets. Lots of people died back then, but I didn't. I'll be here forever." That's Randall Cobb too, a little bit. I mean, he's just hanging around, man.
Hang.
Yeah, I like that. I like Kenny Stills. I think that's a great Mr. Irrelevant. My guy on the website's Greg Olson, but I don't want to talk about him. I like the last pick on JT Money's team in our league. I think who could be more Mr. Irrelevant than Josh Gordon? I think that I think that's a really fun. If your team's all set and you went defense in the 14th round and kicker in the 15th round, Josh Gordon is a fun dart throw, but who knows what's going to happen with him? He's out there hawking his NFL Super Bowl ring, so but they're lax on weed now, so. Who knows what's going to happen with him?
Good.
Yeah, good. Let these guys smoke some weed. Jeez.
Right. Ridiculous.
They're dying.
Oh, my gosh. If your life expectancy is cut short by 10 to 15 years and you shouldn't pain manage yourself in between this violent, concussion-ridden, it's just terrible for you. Yeah. You should be able to relax and chillax legally in any state in America. This is ridiculous.
He potentially might have substance abuse issues, so
he might.
Yeah, but I would say stick to the weed, bro. Just stick to that, and you'd probably be all right. So, but who knows? Yeah, I'm not inside. We're all playing a one-player game. He might be someone who shouldn't touch anything. So it kind of does look that way from my eyes, but. Who's not rooting for Josh Gordon, dude? I am rooting so hard. I would love to see him come back and just continue to have a cool career. So, he's my Mr. Irrelevant. So,
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Let's bounce over to 3 tweets. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right. I have one, and the one I threw in your timeline last week is by somebody named Luke Dutcher. And I heard us actually at the draft. People were talking about Luke Dutcher, and they were talking about this particular clip. And I told them to be quiet because I was
that has gotten so out of control.
Sorry, it started by itself. I told them to be quiet and not share this with you because I was doing it on 3 tweets particularly. So it's a guy with long hair. He's at like a board meeting or like a city council meeting. you know, and you know, I'm gonna share my screen and hopefully not lose our feed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it big. I'm gonna mute mine. I'm gonna have you play yours, and let me make sure mine is muted. We're learning how. When you let me know, I'll push go and we'll get it started here. This is
All right.
the Lincoln City meeting here. Here we go. Council meeting.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Mike. Oh.
What is happening? This is like a boat sinking. There's another boat here. Okay. Now, the boat is completely gotten destroyed. And it's panning out. What is up with that boat? What is up with that boat, dude?
So you went to the wrong video. It was that was not the Luke Dutcher video.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay. You want to try that again?
Oh yeah, let's try that again. Okay, here we go.
So,
all right. This is
Dutcher.
It's another boat video. I know. Wait. You already I know this one.
No, it's not that one.
It's not that
go
one either.
To Luke Dutcher. It's
Okay,
a
I'm
guy
sorry.
at a city council meeting.
Okay, sorry. My bad, bro.
You're listening.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, it was last week. It was on Friday. I sent it to you on Friday. So it was one I sent. Remember before I said
there it is. I got it. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. All right, no worries. All right, so mine didn't play.
All right.
I want to make sure. Hold on, mine did not play the last time, and I wanted to maybe reload the page after whatever happened. It was very interesting.
What was that boat thing? That was weird.
That was a different. Yeah, I don't know. That was a different video I sent you, but that was not the right one, which is fine.
All
We're learning and growing on this. All right, hold on 1 second. All right, I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'm gonna open this video.
I promise I won't take up too much of your.
Okay. Tell me when you're ready,
Okay.
and I'm gonna
All
mute
right.
mine.
3, 2, 1, go.
First and then
All right,
Jane.
mine
and then
didn't
you.
go.
Okay.
Pause yours.
Okay. You me to start it over?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pop mine out. Let's say 3, 2, 1, go. Just have yours ready because mine, when I reload it, it doesn't go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just mute yours and it'll be on your feed. So.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I'm not sharing my video. So hold on.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready. Tell me.
All right.
Go.
Jane, and then you. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
I promise I won't take up too much of your time here. My name is Andrew Christensen. I live at 1212 Twin Ridge Road. Lincoln has the opportunity to be a social leader in this country. We have been casually ignoring a problem that has gotten so out of control that our children are throwing around names and words without even understanding their true meaning and treating things as though they're normal. I go into nice family restaurants and I see people throwing this name around and pretending as though everything is just fine. I'm talking about boneless chicken wings. I propose that we as a city remove the... Excuse me, I'm trying to... Excuse me, come on. I propose that we as a city remove the name boneless wings from our menus and from our hearts. These are our reasons why. Number one, nothing about boneless chicken wings actually come from the wing of a chicken. We would be disgusted if a butcher was mislabeling their cuts of meats, but then we go around and pretending as though the breast of the chicken is its wing. Number two, boneless chicken wings are just chicken tenders, which are already boneless. I don't go to order boneless tacos. I don't go and order boneless club sandwiches. I don't ask for boneless auto repair. It's just what's expected. And then number three, we need to raise our children better. Our children are raised being afraid of having bones attached to their meat. That's where meat comes from. It grows on bones. We need to teach them that the wing of a chicken is from a chicken, and it's delicious. I propose that we rename boneless wings in the city of Lincoln. We can call them buffalo-style chicken tenders. We can call them wet tenders. We can call them saucy nugs or trash. We can take these steps and show the country that where we stand and that we understand that we've been living a lie for far too long. And we know it because we feel it in our bones.
What a good close.
Oh, yeah. So I love
hilarious.
that. He is a really just, he went and did that in real life. So I'm crying over here.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's my guy. They tried to tell you about it at the draft, and I just said, no, do not let him know about that.
No,
I'm saving that.
I actually, what's hilarious? I'm so glad I saw that all over Twitter because that guy was hot. He was like a super trender for one day. And I actually read all the funny comments like saucy nugs and stuff like that. But I never actually watched the video. I don't know how I didn't watch the video. I was just like, oh, I know what he's talking. I just read the comments. That is hilarious. The video is well worth it. So
Yeah.
good tweet.
guy,
You
like-
win. I already nominate you the winner.
Well, you kind of showed my other tweet, but we can re-show. I didn't show it on mine, so we can re-show it. I'll give you some context to that.
Okay.
That other tweet. Yeah. So
Here's
but share yours. I'd love to see yours. Good
I
sir.
sent it to you, so it should be right at the bottom. This is again in regards to the Leonard Fournette news. He is, since our last podcast, he's now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah.
And Bruce Arians came out and said that Ronald Jones is still the guy. So, yeah. So there was a bunch of hilarious, the internet's undefeated. Twitter just went off, but my favorite was this guy. This is from Batman. It's a picture of Jack Nicholson and Bob. And he said, we know how this turned out for Bob. And it's just a picture of him holding Bob. And it says, you are my number one guy. And then he kills him.
Throws Bob in the acid.
Yeah. I mean, that's just perfect. That's a perfect tweet.
Oh, who was that by? Was that by
Nobody famous, just
nobody famous?
Yeah,
Okay.
the internet mob. It's Senior Commish. So,
Has 27 followers. So
yeah, he's not
for
big
him.
time, but with tweets like that, buddy, you're gonna be big time sooner or later. That was hilarious.
I do like that. Man, now I've kind of lost how to navigate. Okay, here we go. Let's share. Let's share the boat sinking. Let's go back and do that again.
So we're doing the boat sinking, not
Yeah, but just turn it down a little bit because there's a lot of screaming and yelling.
okay.
I'll give you guys. I don't really care about the caption. I'm not trying to crap on anybody, but a couple days ago you might have heard that some boats that were in a Trump boat parade were overcome by waves and sunk. And thankfully, no one was hurt. Let me just say that first of all. I don't care what side you're on. If it was a Biden boat parade or anybody else, we don't want anyone getting hurt. I think because no one does get hurt, I don't feel bad about sharing a funny video. But this is a boat that goes under, and the video, it's about 45 seconds long, and I think that's a good enough setup. So let me know when you have it nice and big.
Hold on.
And then I muted mine. You can just tell me when to push play.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, let's like the Titanic. Just a boat down. Bunch of people swimming. That's a pretty crappy boat. I wonder wonder how much that boat cost, because they definitely got jacked on whatever they paid for that thing.
I think they bought that boat at Costco.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
That looks like a Costco boat.
That boat broke up in like 40 seconds. The water overwhelmed it, and then I told my wife, I said, I've never seen anything break that quickly. Like, normally a boat, it takes 20, 30, 40 minutes, 10 minutes, not 27 seconds for your boat to literally disintegrate. It wasn't like part of it sunk. The thing broke in like 50 pieces. Just so funny.
Yeah.
So, man, this was a long week. We still got a little bit more to go. I do want to shout out, if you're sticking around, you're great people. And, I just do want to say I have several things going on in the next couple days. As Nimble with Numbers podcast season is beginning, I have a podcast that Jason Sarney and I did called Prop Profits, and you can follow them at Prop Profits on Twitter. And we released our yesterday, so Sunday, we released our season futures bets, win totals for teams, rushing yard totals for running backs, receiving yards, quarterback, passing yards. Pretty good episode, trying to win you some money. I think it's worth your time, and I can share that later today and tweet it out. That's one podcast, weekly podcast we're going to do called Prop Profits. My man Bo McBigtime and I are doing now 3 podcasts. Now, it's not going to be 3 podcasts every week for me and Bo, but I'm doing my DFS head-to-head, starting with Bo. Bo's my guy. We're going head-to-head first. Secondly, me and Bo are starting our own podcast called, Fast Hard Finish. So that's just going to be me and Bo doing whatever we want to do. It's going to be fun. It's going to be on Saturday night. And then I got the Millie Maker. And you're welcome on the Millie Maker, Mr. Collins. Bo's always welcome. I already got my $100 in the Millie Maker. I got other little $5 bullets in the other Millie Maker. So we're talking Millie Maker this Saturday or Sunday. I got to figure it out how it's all going to work out. But 3 to come, and that's going to be a 5 every week for me. Every week you can get the first one, though, is here every Monday, 9:30. Supposed to be an hour, but we kill it. We give it, we give it our all. So that's why you get that 75-minute mark, baby. Woo, woo, woo. So hit us up.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And you know what? We are
The Millionaires.
All right, brother. Well, episode 6 in the books, man. Yep. Go follow us on all our social media platforms and check out the website. And we will be back next week in a different format, starting to actually talk about the season. So tune in.
Pick up your guys. Get your guys. See you next week.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.